Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whichever part of the world you're from. This is Kavita Ramchand from Life Success Coaching in Mauritius. So, I just realized today is 19th December, is the day my brother passed on. And it's been how many years? Maybe 15 years or so. And it's such a far cry from where I was to where I am today after going through the whole process of depression and coming out of it to be able to help other people grow in awareness of who they truly are. My whole soul's agenda has been one phenomenal journey. And I welcome you today to another session of You Were Born Rich. We are on chapter 9. This is, I think, one of the most important chapters. For me, at least, it was. Because from a person who was thinking very positive, I spiraled to the depths of negativity. And thanks to this education that I got from a mentor, I would say saved my life, is exactly the same knowledge I'm sharing with you every single day through my posts, through my videos, because it saved my life and I know it can save anybody's life, no matter what you're facing today in life, no matter what negativity comes your way. This is the education. This is the education that can change your life, that can change the world. So let's continue without further ado. We are on chapter 9. My blouse is going up and down. So let's get started. Okay, so we are on the story 333 in this chapter 9, which is a phenomenal story. Okay, so I'll just give you a recap of the last reading that Bob Templeton, he works in a radio station and he wanted to do something for the people of Barry where a big typhoon had just hit and so many houses were destroyed, so many people were in distress. So he got his whole staff to come together. He drew on a chart what we can and what we cannot do. And then he made a line in between and he cut out that part that whatever we cannot do. He said we are going to only focus on what we can do. And if all of you put your mind together, we can come up with, we want to come up with a sum of money to give to the people of Barry in 3 days, in 3 hours. So, how are they going to do that? Like, that was the goal. All right. So, this is how it continues. Bob Templeton replied, okay, before that, somebody suggested actually you can go to my last video and see the previous video on how somebody gave a suggestion, which was very good. But how would it work? And then they say we don't need to know how it works. Put it on that column. Okay, now Bob Templeton replied, doing a radio show is how we can. That idea stays. But this truly did sound like a ridiculous idea because radio stations are very competitive. They usually don't work together, and to get them to do so would be virtually impossible according to the standard way of thinking. All of a sudden, someone suggested, you could get Harvey Kirk and Lloyd Robertson, the biggest names in Canadian broadcasting, to anchor the show. These gentlemen are anchors of national stature in the Canadian television industry. Someone clearly spoke out saying, they're not going to go on radio. But at that point, the whole group yelled, next. Bob said that was when the energy, uh, sorry, I just missed out the page. It just went somewhere else. Yeah, that was when the energy shifted. Everyone got involved, and it was absolutely amazing how fast and furious the creative ideas began to flow. That was on a Friday. The following Tuesday, they had a radiothon where 50 radio stations from all across the country agreed to work in harmony for such a good cause. They felt it didn't matter who got the credit as long as the people in Barrie got the money. Harvey Kirk and Lloyd Robertson anchored the show, And they succeeded in raising $3 million in 3 hours within 3 business days. You see, you can have whatever you want. All things are possible when you put your focus on how you can and next every idea telling you why you can't. This may be it may be a difficult exercise in the beginning. However, when you persist, next thing, any and all negative concepts, the flow of positive ideas will roar into your marvelous mind. Alfred Adler, the renowned psychologist, coined the extraordinary phrase, I am grateful to the idea that has used me. There can be no doubt that creative, forward thinking ideas literally breathe new life into every fiber of your being. They awaken a part of you that you never even knew was sleeping. Bob Templeton never received 5 cents for the leadership role he played in marshalling 50 radio stations from right across Canada to raise the $3 million for the people of Barrie, Ontario, in Canada. However, you must remember that this is truly an orderly universe. God's way of running this show is Zach. When you put good out, it must come back. I shared this story when it happened with two good friends of mine, Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. They were so intrigued by the story, they published it in their book Chicken Soup for the Soul. Give me a minute. I was recently doing, no, we are not going to continue now because that's where I stopped in my other video, which I do in the local language in Mauritius. But I want to share something with you. When I was about to get married to my husband, we met in India. I'm from Mauritius, he's from the Philippines, and we had common relatives in India, so we decided, okay, let's meet there. And we actually just went, the two of us, without our parents. And before we met, he told me on the phone, I brought a book for you. It's called Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I was thinking he bought me a recipe book because he knew I didn't know how to cook. So I'm like, you brought me a recipe book? He said, you'll see. And when we met, he gave me this book. The stories, my God, I remember reading these stories. They really move you, you know. They really, really move you. And these stories are all taken from life, you know, all of these stories taken from life. And this is somewhere I see that there is such a lack of faith in the world today. I don't know what we are hoping for. Who's going to come and save you? It's nobody else but yourself. God is with you. I see it that way. Like he says here, God's way of running this show is exact. If you put good out, it must come back. You know, we get so involved in our little world, in our own self, me and my world, that we tend to forget the outer world. By outer world I mean everyone else. We are all connected. At a very, very deep level, we are all connected to each other. And you have been given a gift. This Bob Templeton did not know how he was going to raise $3 million in 3 hours, in 3 days for these people. But he wanted to do something for them. When you stop thinking about you and you start thinking about the world will help you. Let's put it that way. I see it that way. I see that when I came out of my own little bubble of poor me and started helping the world with the gift that I was blessed with, the gift of teaching this information, the universe just showered his blessings. It was the most phenomenal concept. Of course, when I did it, it was not I was not doing it for anything else but to help everyone understand this. Why? Because when I studied this information. It took me out of a 7 years of depression. I was spiraling, spiraling. I didn't even know I was going into depression. I was such a happy go lucky girl. I just got so ill, one after the other. And I was wondering, what's wrong with me? Where's my happiness gone? I was seeking happiness like crazy. I was seeking happiness everywhere else. And it was always within me. And the day I experienced that, it's not about knowing here. It's not about I'm not telling you a story that just came out of nowhere about my life. No, it's my personal experience of literally coming back to life as if I breathed again when I came out of that darkness I was spiraling into. And ever since then, I've been on a mission to share this information with the whole world because I know nobody ever taught this to us. No one. And my query actually started when I asked how did I attract my brother's death, because I knew the law of attraction, and I knew I was attracting everything in my life. I knew it. Good or bad, both. I remember when I got married, my husband said, because we met online, right? He from the Philippines, I from Mauritius, and he said, "Is there anything more I need to know about you?" I said, "Yeah, you need to know that what I think manifests. Don't ask me how, but it happens." So when I think of something negative, I get afraid that it might happen, so I just don't speak about it. But it would still happen. But then, how did I attract my brother's death? He was just 29 years old. His wife was expecting their first baby. If I'm here talking to you today, it's because I know how this information is life transformational. It took me out of that 7 years of depression. This education should be given to every child, every parent. When are we going to start? I was 40 when I got this education, and I was like, why was this not taught to everyone? Do you think it's an accident that people in the world today are suffering so much? That there's so much poverty in the world, in some areas of the world, and some areas are so rich? You think it's an accident? There are laws that govern this whole universe. And these laws have been kept hidden from man for the longest time. The law of attraction is just a secondary law to the law of vibration. How happy are you is how happy your world is going to be. That's in one sentence. So thank you very much for being here. I think now I finished a little more within time. Oh, I've exceeded as usual. Okay, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye bye.